Okay, so Teen Wolf Season 4, Episode 2, Episode 117, which doesn't make a terrible amount of sense until later in the episode. So, alright, so basically the episode starts off with a flashback to basically after, like, Visionary. It's after Derek had killed Paige, so his eyes are blue, and it's him and Peter discussing Derek learning control for his werewolf stuff because he's still a teenager at this point, and I guess that makes sense because he's turned back to a teenager in the modern day. So they take him to Deaton's and they decide that Lydia's going to stay with him while Scott and Stiles go to school. And so what we find out through a couple things, which I guess I'll talk about, which is minor details, is that Malia and Scott are kind of, Malia and Stiles are kind of a thing in a way, where like apparently she sneaks into his bed every night and then they do it, but then he gets all scratched up. But then she's still struggling being a teenager, like in school. So, and so they talk about that for a little bit, and let's find out that for whatever reason, Derek, he's healing much faster than normal, and he wakes up and he attacks Deaton because he's confused. Because it turns out not only was his body aged back in time, but his mind was too. So he doesn't remember anything. He doesn't remember the fire happening. So the first thing he does is he goes to what is now the destroyed or the demolished remains of the Hale House, which is apparently being torn down, where he is then arrested, I guess, by police. And then while he's there, Scott and Stiles show up, and Sheriff Stilinski, because he now kind of believes everything. He was asking if they dabbled into time travel, which was a funny moment. But they convince Derek to go with them, because he doesn't know them, and Stiles takes young Derek to Scott's house while Scott goes to talk to Peter. So, and I actually missed this part of the episode, so I'm going to double back and take this. I'm assuming right around the same time that they take Derek to the animal clinic, we see that Kate is at a gas station bathroom, and the gas station person goes in, and apparently she loses control over her abilities and attacks him. Okay, so basically, Malia decides to go with Scott to talk to Peter, and that's when they find out that Kate took Derek back to a time when he trusted her, which is when he knew Kate, but Kate hadn't burned the Hale House down yet, and she's doing that so you can get a hands on the Triskelion, which is the thing that Peter was trying to use in the flashback at the beginning of the episode to control the shift. And so they're like, okay, we got to go stop him. So while that's happening, Kate visits Derek at Scott's house and then convinces her to go off with him. And then when they make it to the school, there's a vault, the Hale vault underneath the school, and it's kind of weird. She kisses him, and it's kind of weird just because I'm assuming if that happened that the actor who plays young Derek Hale's 18. But they go into the vault and she's looking for the Triskelion. When Peter, Malia, and Scott show up to the school, they see if they find that the Berserkers are there. And we find out that they are actually Berserkers, and that they're under Kate's control. So Scott, Malia, and eventually Kira try to fend them off, but they're not powerful enough. Where Peter goes down to the vault and tells Kate that the Triskelion isn't anything. Like, it's not. It's just a toy. And so right around that time, Scott roars, and at that point, Derek decides that, I have to go help Scott, so he runs off, and then so Derek starts fighting the Berserkers pretty well. Actually, he's handling himself a lot better than everybody else. Meanwhile, Peter and Kate look like they're gonna fight down in the vault, but then they get gassed with, I'm assuming, Wolfsbane, and somebody walks in and steals a briefcase. We don't know who. You don't get to see him. He just walks out with a briefcase. And we see Kate calls off the Berserkers, and it turns out that Derek is back to his old self, but his eyes are yellow. But his eyes turn yellow. His eyes were blue because of that whole thing with killing an innocent. So, which is weird. But then we find out that in the briefcase that the guy stole was money, and it was $117 million, which again is where the name of the episode comes from. And then the episode's done. So yeah, this episode was cool because you get to see a lot more of the characters. We see Deaton for a bit. The sheriff, like a lot of the main cast kind of shows back up. But Scott's dad, we find out he's still kind of living there, and that maybe him and Scott have kind of made a somewhat better relationship. I guess they have dinner, and you see he's trying to make things right with his dad. But I think one of the great things about this episode is, Teen Wolf's reached that point in time where they can start referencing themselves. And so they make a reference to season 1, this episode, when Stiles takes Derek to Scott's house. They run into Scott's dad, and he goes, "Oh, well, who's this?" And Stiles says, "My cousin Miguel," which is, what he told Danny in season 1. I just thought that was, a cool reference. They started doing that in season 3. Like, they've reached that point where they can just reference themselves. We also find out that Malia still does not know about Peter being her biological dad. She still doesn't know about it yet. We also find out a little bit more about the Berserkers. You actually get to see them, and I guess there's 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, there's 2. But I feel like this episode was done really well. I like it better than the pilot. I mean, the pilot, has to build up all the plot, but I feel like this episode is definitely where things start to get a steam. And like I said, it follows this episode goes along with my theory that I had last one, where it follows the Teen Wolf format, where there's a problem the first 2-3 episodes or so, and then at the end of those episodes is when the main problem is introduced, which I'm assuming is this guy who just kind of waltzes in and is getting the guy who waltzes in and takes the whatchamajookie, the briefcase with the money in it. He's introduced literally at the tail end of the episode. But yeah, episodes like this make me really excited for Teen Wolf. I want to see what they do with Kate, because we really haven't seen a terrible amount of her yet. I feel like that'll just be a lot of fun. I want to see why Derek's eyes are yellow, because his eyes were blue, and I mean, again, heck, there's still 10 episodes left. There's still so much that can be done with Teen Wolf, so I'm really, really excited. I feel like this is a shorter episode because, at least, even though a lot happened, there wasn't too much substance to it. But I mean, I do like this episode better than the season, than the pilot. So yeah, definitely check out 117. Watch Wolf Watch, the After show, all the after show crap that they do for this show. Now that it's like MTV's premiere series. So yeah, thanks for watching, and bye.